Hi, this is Mills Mess. Welcome to a playthrough of Darksea 2. This is a Knytt Stories level made by Secret Glitch, and Knytt Stories itself was made by Niflis. The goals of this playthrough are to show you how to complete enough screens to finish this level, which is pretty hard to do. So feel free to look through this video if you get stuck in a particular place. And since it took me forever to complete most of these screens, I've cut out like 90% plus of the deaths. And after completing all the screens to finish the game, I've gone back over and added some mildly amusing commentary, just sort of tips and tricks. So watch what you need to get through the game, and I hope you find this helpful. Okay, let's get started. You'll notice that this first section is in a bit of a different resolution from most of the recording. And that's because this is one of the sections I went back and re-recorded to make it a little cleaner. So here we are inside the submarine. Where do we need to go? Okay, so it looks like we need to find, or to use this high jump that's on top of that box. There's a surprisingly large number of jumps that require the use of that box. Most of them are kind of tricky. Okay, yeah, this level starts out pretty easy, and it gradually gets harder and harder. So right now it's not too bad. Pulled some switch, and it looks like we're going underwater now, so that's a good thing. Ah yes, more jumps from that box. Okay, and here we have sort of the first real set of challenges. Those blue enemies will fall from the top of the screen when you walk underneath them. So the trick for dealing with all of these is to walk underneath them and then move out quickly so that they'll fall down when you're not there. Uh-oh. Defense drones released. That is not a good sign. So these red enemies will travel at about the same speed as your running speed, and they will travel towards you, so you have to keep moving. It is a good trick to know that if you leave a screen and then come back, it will reset the position of the red enemies. As you can see, I took advantage of here. Yeah, that jump there that I just died on is probably the hardest one in this escape sequence. You have to wait for the enemy to get close enough to you and then jump over it. And then right at the end here, you have to jump quickly. It's a bit unfair, really. Alright, defense system deactivated. Now we need to go to the communication space. This challenge is difficult because there's a very small amount of time to get out of the way of the energy orbs. I like the design of this challenge. The player has to use the wall climb power-up just half a second after they acquire it. Alright, we're almost at the mini sub. Oh, here I decided to jump in the apparent gap in the spikes, but it's not actually a real gap. And we're off. Communication space. Again, the clever use of foreground objects here I quite like. What I'm trying to do is to fake out the creatures and then to jump just in the side of the shaft without triggering the other one. So trigger the first one and then jump just in the side of the shaft of the second one without causing it to fire. There we are. And now we do this exact same thing again, and now we're good to go. But yeah, that doesn't seem like a very elegant way to do it. Okay. So yeah, you saw the sudden change in the image. That was because I quit out to practice this a few times and then came back to see if I could get it while recording. One thing that I find to be quite helpful for these challenges is placing additional save points at some intermediate point through the challenge, so you're not always having to re-complete the start of the challenge every time. Uh, the tricky part is getting past that laser in time on the left. So as soon as it blinks out, we need to be running past it. There we are. Barely in the nick of time. Okay, so I guess there are two passages here, one going to the right, one going down. Oh no, the one going down, that's just a hidey hole to hide from the energy orbs that the creature sends out. Ah, nice. So it's the classic fake out the creature and then run past it when it's not firing. So in this tube to the left here, there's a little crawly creature that will come towards you, and then you have to jump over it, and it will run after you. So you have to time it properly with the laser. And here's another creepy colony, which, since it will keep coming towards you and there's no place for you to jump over it, you have to jump over it in where the pipe is wider. So this is actually quite a tight jump because there are spikes on the side of the wall as well. There we go. Yeah, but that took significantly more tries than was shown. Again here, the cool use of fading out of background and foreground colors. I quite like this aesthetic. Yeah, this kind of puzzle is fairly common, at least in Darksea 1 and Darksea 2, and I can't remember if the Escape from the Factory or whatever the other secret glitch level is, but this is kind of a common... Oh, and going left, there's a couple like this. It's surprisingly difficult, actually. Though I think still substantially easier than the other challenges. I like the use of those orange blocks there, that's clever. Oh, no, this room is really surreal, because it looks impossible to get to that orange button over there, but there's a vertical wrapping effect occurring, where you fall down the bottom and you come in on the top. So, that's kind of clever. But it's not really a tricky screen, it just requires some precise jumping. Again, using the A key to dodge the lasers at close quarters. Alright, success. Alright, so it looks like we need the purple key to proceed to the left. So we need to find the purple key. Okay. Oh, this reminds me vaguely of the umbrella jump that was in Dark Sea 1. Looks like I didn't want to do that and decided to continue without the purple key. Okay, finally I decided my time would be better spent trying this left passage. So you can see there's sort of a beam coming out of the pool, and we need to land on that, and then see that was substantially easier than going the other way. I think this is probably the intended way, because it is much easier to climb the other side than it was to go down it, as you'll see in a minute. This is quite interesting, because on the wall there are regularly spikes, and you have to dodge those while also timing the lasers that are turning on and off. So I quite enjoyed this section, although it was really hard. Oh, and this is very, very clever. It makes you go up the way of the shaft that you do not come down. Nice use of switches and pools here. And now we have the double jump. So we have to use the double jump to get past these spikes. And it's actually really hard, but really satisfying because it also looks hard and you feel awesome when it works. Unlike some of the other challenges that are really hard but don't look that hard. Alright. Ah, success. Yay. So now I guess we have to get that purple key. Now that we have the double jump, this jump across this gap should be possible. The tricky part is you want to bang your head on the ceiling, which reduces the distance that your jump takes you. Okay, there we got lucky. Then it's squished on the way back. This reminds me of a similar but much more difficult jump in the factory escape level, the name of which escapes me at the moment. But you have to jump over to the side, grab a key, and jump back. Whereas here we have a platform to rest on. I believe in that other jump, you just have to double jump in midair and then come back. It's pretty ridiculous. Okay, so it looks like we're going on to a different subsection of this communications building. Okay, now this looks really intimidating, but if I recall, it's actually a lot easier than what we were just doing. It doesn't call for as much precision. Okay, so it looks like I've had time to practice it, and I'm ready to go for it. So it just looks like you have to carefully dodge the energy orbs at the beginning, get out of the way of the falling blue things, and then you're far away enough that you can just stand on the green thing and there's no problems. Now this looks tricky because we have only this orange block hanging from the ceiling, and the jump, which takes you from this side of the orange block to the other side of the orange block, which is going to be a double jump in the air, is difficult in general for me. Okay, there we go. And now there's going to be a second fairly difficult jump over to the wall on the left. Okay, that actually didn't look that hard. And we turn on the communications tower. Because that was the most logical location for the switch. On the other side of like hundreds of miles of lasers. Oh yes, when I was playing this, I'm so afraid that we had to go backwards through all those obstacles. But blessedly, the game just brings us back to the submarine. So we should have communications to the lab, and we should be on our way. So I wasn't really sure what to do here. Ah, yes. Fuel and battery levels are low. So, of course, because the submarine has the least convenient user interface, the fuel and battery levels are on the other side of, you know, 10 minutes of spikes and lasers. And this is an interesting challenge because there are three things one has to dodge, and they're all kind of different kinds of things. Like the box goes up and down, and the ball thing goes from left to right, and the laser just appears or disappears at one spot. So you're having to balance obstacles in sort of three sorts of directions. These jumps look impossible until you realize there are invisible blocks. Yeah, and that takes some practice because you have to learn where the energy orbs will land. Oh, and this is kind of a scary jump because you don't want to undo all your hard work on the previous screen by falling into the water here. So yeah, use the side of the box to avoid banging your head on the ceiling on your double jump. So I'm trying to fake out the blue thing here and then hopefully, yeah, outrun the projectiles. Oh, and the lights went off. I guess, yes, ship power was dangerously low. You have to wonder why this thing is not nuclear powered or something. Oh yes, this part of the game I found the most annoying. Because you walk into a room, and then all of a sudden the lights come on, then you instantly die. And it's really annoying. I think this is where I got stuck a previous time I tried to play through this level. I just didn't see where you had to go. Okay, so we've come back from sort of a practice session. I figured out how you can get past these obstacles. You just sort of, well, I think you just had to run past them. Yeah, that's all there was to it. One is always afraid that the lights are about to come back on. So here, that's a bit of a tricky jump to get onto that box. Especially because the lights go off in the middle of it. Our favorite defense drones are back. Apparently, they don't require much power. Yeah, why is the submarine using an excessive number of lasers uh, when power is extremely low? So low that we cannot have the overhead lights on. Doesn't make any sense. Okay, so randomly we have a power station in the bottom of the ocean. That's cool, I guess. Maybe Dr. Nuance built it. Still think he should just nuclear powered his submarine, then he wouldn't have to worry about this. Fuel should last a long time then. Oh well. We will refuel the submarine. Ah, okay, the top hatch of the submarine was open. I was wondering where we were going to. Thought we had to take the mini sub again. Okay, so now we are getting recharged and also getting fuel. Not entirely sure. Oh, this is a very clever thing. I have to congratulate Secret Glitch on what he did here. With, I guess, custom objects and shifts and all that cool stuff. Basically, every switch that you turn will toggle a set of energy lines, and you can see the traces as they go through the wall. And some of these, well, you cannot go through the blue lines, and you see also there's that red creature there. That will also be enabled. Well, I guess actually that one's just always on. No, that one is on. They are enabled or disabled. You can see there's a yellow one there that is disabled. So in order to get through, you have to cleverly turn on and off the right switches to configure your environment so that it is possible to get through it. While this is a really neat idea, it is a bit tedious to realize or to effect a solution. Not sure what I was doing there. Because there are so many switches that need to be fiddled with. Again, a very clever use of lighting here, which I quite like. Now you can see that yellow one is on, and it will destroy you if you get too close to it. I'm trying to see how close I can get to it without it blowing up. So now I know. Yeah, so just give the yellow and red things a wide berth when they're turned on, and you should be fine. Oh, this is the classic jump into a laser that's moving towards you, and you just have to time your jump to go right as it turns off. The tricky thing, or an additional tricky thing here, is that there's a yellow creature on the ceiling that will destroy you if you get too close to it. So this limits the height of your jump. Yeah, so you actually have to fall down and then double jump in order, because a single higher jump, which would be more natural, would leave you to be destroyed. Okay, so here it looks like we're crossing over from the power building over to like an oil building, which again, like, why is there submarine powered by oil? I don't know. It's not environmentally friendly. Oh well. I quite like the aesthetic of this area though. The very black foreground combined with the blue ocean in the background, I think looks really good. Another thing to note here, and this is a common theme actually. Okay, yeah, just waiting a little bit longer there made it a lot easier. Sometimes it's easy to make a puzzle artificially difficult by insisting that you get through on the first cycle of the obstacles. But sometimes, if you wait a little while, the obstacles will actually become easier because there will be two cycles that get a little bit out of sync with each other. For example, there we had two sets of lasers that I think got slightly, or rather, the configuration they presented became easier over time, or at least at that particular moment when I went through. This part is not conceptually difficult, you just have to basically double jump. This is a classic secret glitch thing, to have two of sort of a similar puzzle right next to each other, and to have the puzzle get progressively more difficult as one advances. Okay, there we go. Just to carefully place double jump. Here again we see secret glitches, common design pattern where we have several versions of the same challenge, and then the later versions are more difficult. In this case it's more difficult because the total hallway thing for the spiky blocks to oscillate in is smaller, and so they will be only out of Junie's way for a smaller fraction of the time. Yeah, sometimes it can be just very helpful to try just the part of the challenge that is giving you problems, and to then, once you have that in place, to then try everything together. Now this screen I quite enjoy. In general enjoy puzzles with the fire because, I don't know, it's more fun to dodge than some of the other kinds of projectiles. I guess because it's less random than some of the other projectile enemies. Just careful timing there. Oh, this is a very clever use of the crawling bug creature. Um, the tricky part is as you run towards the right side of the screen, the bug will start to crawl towards you, and if it gets too close, then uh, you want to run further to the right. But in general, there will be a laser in your way, and so you will get squished between the bug and the laser. So you had to figure out how do you get as far to the right as quickly as possible without letting the bug get very close to you. So we had to make these sort of hops to the left over the bug's head, because the bug will move towards you, and if you are further to the left, then the bug will not move as far to the right. So while you are waiting for the next laser to change, which will allow you to proceed further, then you need to be hopping over the bug's head to stop it from getting too close. Oh, and I really like the look of this screen. Uh, it's really dramatic with the glaring lights and the scary black spiky creatures. Be careful of the spiders here. It's an interesting dodging exercise. You'll also note that on the way up to the screen, I was climbing the wall while also pressing the jump key, and I think that was the only way to climb fast enough. So you could see I was just trying to trigger that creature without having to cross underneath it. Aha! Press down to transfer oil. I like the sound of that. Looks like I was having far too much fun here transferring oil. I think basically you transfer oil until your passageway to the right is clear, indicating that the oil that used to be there has now been transferred, hopefully to our submarine, or to this power plant, or whatever it's really going to. Oh no, this is clever here, because you would like to just climb up here directly, but there's this block that is impeding progress. So in order to get up there, you have to enable the switch, but enabling the switch also enables all these red enemies. So this makes the jumping process considerably more difficult. You have to make sure to not be too close to the floor. So here I've added a save point to reduce tedium. In this section of, okay, save point. In this section of the game, when you see the thick gray line, that indicates that there are spikes. So you have to be very careful not to land on the spikes. Now here I'm heading off to the oil, which I'm not sure, yeah, you see it's blocked off now, we can't get there. So here to be careful to dodge the laser while also not landing on the floor. So thankfully I had saved. Okay, now we are returning to where we came from. I'm guessing we need to go down now, because to the right would just be back to the submarine. So I guess we're going to need to turn on or toggle the switch to the left here. It's a somewhat tricky jump to not fall into this chasm or into this energy line. Okay. Ah, now you see all these gray lines here that indicates the spikes. You can also see that outlined there's an energy block, um, which will allow us to make that jump. So we need to go and turn that block on. So tracing it back, we can see that it's controlled by the switch in sort of the middle right of the screen. However, that itself is blocked by this switch. So if we toggle the switch, now we should be able to access the switch that controls the energy block and it allows us to complete the jump on the screen below. So now this is turning on the energy block, and now we should be able to complete the jump. Which is not that hard a jump once you have the energy block. Oh, now this is a very clever use of shifts and custom objects. I don't know the details. But if you go into one of these cool blue things with a grid on it, then it will reset the switches, which can be useful. But you have to think carefully if you want to go into one of the square blue areas ahead of time. This is another one of the sections that I decided to re-record to make it a bit cleaner. This is kind of a tricky puzzle, and in my original recording I went back and forth and made a lot of mistakes, and it was just really confusing as to what you were supposed to do. So let's see here. What do you need to keep in mind while doing this puzzle? There's the red enemy there on the left side of that screen, and the red enemy is actually really annoying to avoid when it's on. The easiest way to avoid it is by sliding down the wall on the left or the wall on the right and then jumping over it. And that jump I just completed there is one of the more difficult ones. You have to use the entire height of the double jump to get over the reset area. This puzzle here is challenging mostly because there's a lot of switches, so it's confusing, but also because one has to avoid the reset areas and the red enemy just so many times as one goes back and forth. And if you make a single mistake, you obviously have to start all over again. But that's how it should be done. And now, as if that wasn't enough, back to the oil section. Oh, this screen was very difficult. I actually spent enough time on it that my roommate came over to see what I was up to, and he gave it a try. It's pretty hard. I think the plan here, though, is you see the two floating black squares. We need to land on the far side of the rightmost one, and then timer jump appropriately to get through the remaining set of the white blocks to the left. Ah, success, glorious success. Oh yes. Now in this screen there should be an umbrella in the bottom part of the screen, but I actually already got that on a practice run, and the items picked up stay in your inventory. So you can see where the mouse was pointing there for a moment on the little island. There should be an umbrella there. So I'll go ahead, I think, and demonstrate that jump, how to get it. That's not really the hard jump on the screen. So I'll demonstrate how to get to that block without using the umbrella, because that is where the umbrella is usually located. So yay, we have the umbrella. Now we need to jump back. Okay, and then you could save once you had the umbrella. Okay, so now this is, I think someone asked on the forums about the screen. This is kind of a tricky jump. Just kind of really long. You have to get all the way across the screen to, I think, that protruding black thing that my mouse was just pointing at. Although maybe we just need to double jump. I don't remember what I did here. Okay, so yeah, we do get onto that black protrusion, and then we jump to the other side. So it's just a matter of timing with the lasers. It's not really that bad of a jump. I think that's because Knytt tends to naturally slide down. So you have to climb back up in order to remain kind of stationary. Okay, can we get it this time? You can see I'm pausing here. I don't want to mess it up again. Yay. All right.